This is the Work at Home Heroes podcast. Your host, Caitlin Pyle, digs deep with people from all over the world who make money from home. Get ready to wake up to a world of possibility for freedom, flexibility, and a life you'll love.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Work at Home Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Pyle, and I'm here with Barbra Harper. She's a freelance copy editor and proofreader specializing in content marketing. She worked for over 25 years in various office positions. Started writing and proofreading in the evenings. A few months later, she lost her office job that she'd been at for nearly 7 years and put all of her efforts into building her freelance business. It definitely took her a while to find her niche. We'll talk about that here on the show. But she landed a couple of anchor clients who she can rely on for steady work, and she is still growing. Barbra, welcome to the show.
Hi, Caitlin. Thanks. It's great to be here.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in central Pennsylvania. I live in the mountains in a great big old house that's almost 200 years old that we are refurbishing.
Cool. I love that. And the first thing that you said in your application was how old you were. So do you mind telling us?
I'm 50.
Amazing. And I asked you that because you mentioned it. And also because there's so many people that write in and are like, I'm too old to do this, aren't I? And I'm like, no. And so I always get real excited when we have somebody in their 50s, in their 60s. We had somebody I recorded today. She's 62 and she's been working at home since she was 52. And so we just talked all about that because a lot of people, they tend to look at age and location and what your spouse does, what degree you have, how many kids you have, all these things as reasons to not start. And so I get real excited when we have somebody on who is making it happen. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how you made it happen and kind of your story leading on up to that. And so my first question, is how did you get into this? Was there a moment where you're like, I'm done, I'm working for myself and I make this happen? Or was it more of a gradual change? How did that happen for you?
Well, it was a gradual change. I had decided that I wanted to do something in the evenings to bring in a little bit more money. And I had always loved writing and was always very good at it. I'd been proofreading since I was in elementary school. My older sister and I used to play school, during the summer vacations. And she was older than me and I would always correct her, even though she was the teacher. So it's something that I've always done and I've always loved to do. I figured, okay, well, let me try seeing if I can do a freelance kind of thing in the evenings and just bring in a little bit of extra money doing something that I like to do. So I signed up with a couple of freelance websites. And that was in January 2014. And I hadn't planned on making a career change, even though I hated my job. I didn't think it was something that, I could really do was have my own business or do something on my own full time. So anyway, I started out slow, did some things in the evening, did some writing and did some book reviews and other types of office work for people. And then in that summer, I realized I was going to have surgery that was going to keep me out of work for a couple of months. And I knew there was no way that the short-term disability was going to cover our needs. So I really started going into it. And when I was on medical leave, I kind of jumped into it full time. And I thought that I was indispensable at my job. I was the only one who did certain things. I was the only one in the company who knew how to run all of the different software programs the different departments used. I thought I was pretty indispensable. And while I was on medical leave, my husband and I got the opportunity to move in with his brother and sister-in-law into this big house that they had bought. And it's a couple hours away from where we were living. And I thought, well, when I get off medical leave, I'm pretty sure I can talk them into letting me come into the office 1 or 2 days a week and work from home, because I had worked from home several times over the years when there were power outages or winter storms or something that kept the office closed. I had worked at home. So I was getting pretty close to having to go back to the office, and I set up a meeting with my supervisor and the manager and said, okay, look, this is what happened. While I've been out, we moved away and this is what I would like to do. And I was told, oh, well, we'll have to check with human resources and get back to you on that. Okay. So a couple days later, I received a text message from my supervisor. She didn't even call me. She sent me a text message and said, yeah, when you come back, you have to come back full time in the office. Okay, well, that's not going to work for me. Like I said, it's about 2 hours away, and I was having major anxiety issues and panic attacks when I drove. There was no way I could drive a 2-hour commute every day. So I just said, well, then I guess you have my notice. I quit.
So tell us, what kind of job was it and what were they paying you? That kind of thing, just so we can kind of put ourselves in your shoes at that point.
Okay, I was working for a medical billing company. They are a nationwide company. They're one of the largest medical billing companies in the U.S. I was the team lead for the payment posting division. I posted payments from insurance companies and individuals, and I processed refunds, and I oversaw the work of the other people in the department. I provided trainings to an overseas office that we had every week. It was very high stress. Everything was pushed towards production, and I was paid just over $12 an hour. And I had been there about 7 years.
Wow. So it's probably the best thing ever that happened when you had that job kind of disappear on you, because it sounds like things are looking up right now, huh?
Yes. And it really was good that the job went away. It was actually a major cause of the stress and the anxiety issues that I had and the panic attacks. I mean, I was in therapy. I was on medication for anxiety and depression, all sorts of things. It took me a little while to get off of them, but I don't take medication for any of that anymore.
Amazing. And one thing that really stood out to me in your application was that you heard from a coworker that your supervisor had asked the manager if she could take a laptop to you so you could work while you were in the hospital on pain meds and IV antibiotics. Like, oh my goodness, that is crazy. And so, yeah, it sounds like the best thing that ever could have happened to you was that you got out of that job. So you're making $12 an hour at that place sounds like somewhat of a team lead, and you'd been there for 7 years. What kind of income are you generating now working at home?
Last year, I made just under $38,000. So I went from 24 to 38, and I'm hoping to build that this year. I'm not quite building as fast as I would like to, but my monthly income is going up a little.
That's amazing.
Hopefully my marketing tactics will kick in here in a few more months. I would really like to be having an income of $4,000 a month by the middle of the year. I think it's doable.
Plus, like, your benefits, in addition to more money, I mean, you went from 24 to 38,000 a year. That's a big, big jump. And you got off all those medications. Holy smokes. And you're happier.
Exactly.
But it probably took a little bit of, there's probably some emotional and mental challenges. So that's actually my next question is when you first start working at home, a lot of people come up against mindset challenges, self-doubt, things like that. So what kind of obstacles got in the way, if any, for you when you were first getting started?
Well, when I first started, it was just in the evening, so there wasn't really a whole lot going on. But when I was basically forced to go full-time to make up all my income, it was really hard. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it. I spent months working really, really long hours. I mean, like 16, 20 hours a day. And because I didn't have to go into an office, I could just work whenever. And typically I would work all through the night. I'd go to sleep maybe about 10 o'clock in the morning. And my body clock is really kind of weird because there's times that I can stay up 20 hours, 24, 28 hours without sleeping, and then I'll go crash for a while. So not having to have a particular schedule did kind of work because of the way my sleeping patterns can be. I have gotten myself into a better schedule now, but for a long time, I put in super long hours. I did a lot of work for very little money just so that I could build up a portfolio of work and to build a reputation that I could build a business on. It took a lot of work, a lot of long hours, and there was a lot of times that I just went, I don't know if I can do this, but I don't know what else to do because we do live in the mountains. The nearest towns are 2 to 3 miles away, and they each only have like 300 people in them. So it's not like I'm in a booming metropolis where I could go just run out and get a job unless I wanted to drive an hour, which I physically could not do. So I had to make it work.
And your life looks completely different now. So how has your life improved since you started working at home? Even though it was tough at first, you stuck it out and it definitely paid off. So tell us what your life looks like now.
Well, we are actually looking at buying the house from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, which I never thought I'd be able to buy a house. I've never owned one. I'm 50 years old, never owned a house, and we're seriously looking at buying the house from them. I kind of set my own schedule, but it's based on what my client's schedule is. But most of the time, if, I want to go shopping in the afternoon or do whatever, as long as my work is done and, I can tell my clients, look, well, next Tuesday, as a matter of fact, I'm taking the day off. So I just email my clients and go, hey, heads up, I'm going to be out of the office next Tuesday. So if you need anything done, you got to do it before then or wait till Wednesday. And they work with my schedules. I work with their schedules. I get to spend time with my family. I get my cat jumping up on my desk when they want attention. They're just, hey, Mom, come on. And, I can stop whatever I'm doing and play with the cats for a while. Or, one of the family members will come in and just want to chit chat. And unless I'm on a really tight deadline of something that I need to get pushed out, it's like, oh, okay, turn the screen off and just sit and have a chat. And it's so much less stressful. It's more enjoyable.
You're running the business and the business isn't running you, which is really, really cool. And I think that's what a lot of people want. I think we can kind of fool ourselves into thinking that we just want to make money and money is the end all be all. But the reality is we don't want the money itself. We want the freedom that the money can bring us. We want that flexibility. We want that autonomy. And then, of course, we want to help people as well. And I think that's the key is, shifting your focus away from, okay, what do I need to do? I need money, to how can I serve people? What are my strengths? And how can I bring those strengths to other people? Because when we focus on those people instead of ourselves, then so much pressure comes off of us. And we're not so worried about what if I get rejected, because all you want to do is help solve people's problems. And it just makes things so much easier.
And that is true to an extent. I mean, so for me, some of it is, yes, I'm doing it for me because I want the freedom and I want to have an income where I can do the things that I want to do. And I really don't have a lot of big, expensive things. I'm a pretty simple person, but part of it is for me. But, to really get the clients that I have, I have to be doing it for them and making sure that, what I do is I help them look good to their clients. Because if they don't look good, they don't get hired.
Right.
And with the type of work that I do with copy editing, I'm in a very special niche that I typically work in. And there are a lot of people who go, oh, content marketing. Yeah, I can do that. No big deal. And, proofreading. Oh, yeah, I'm really good at spotting typos. And there's so much more to it.
Yeah. So many people think they can proofread until they actually start doing it and they don't realize what they don't know. And I hear that from my students over at Proofread Anywhere all the time. They were really excited. They joined because they thought all they would need to do was skip forward past everything and learn how to get clients. But then they actually spent some time and did the tests and did the practice. And they're like, whoa, I didn't know what I didn't know until I started actually doing it. And yeah, there's so much more to it than that. In terms of copy editing, you said you have like a specific niche you work in. Do you mind sharing what that niche is?
I typically work in content marketing, which is a type of inbound marketing that is really, really popular right now. And it's also based on helping people and providing value. And it's how companies share information on their websites and in their blog posts that offers people information. It's not a sales pitch. A lot of the stuff that I work on talks about different types of technology and how it's used in different industries. And, there might be a plug at the end of the piece that says, oh, well, we can help you do this, if you're interested. But it's one of those things. It's a huge marketing tactic right now for getting inbound clients as opposed to selling a company's services. We're going, look, here's all this information that we're sharing with you. Yes, we work and we do this. And type of technology is related to something that we do, but we're not pushing anything We're just informing you about all sorts of different things.
And I think that's the best way for companies to dominate whatever market they're in. That's the way that anybody listening to this podcast right now can dominate whatever industry they're in, is be the one who knows and shares the most. Just crush it in sharing information about your thing, right? And so I think that's how I grew as a proofreading blogger. That's how I'm growing in the work at home niche, is I am crushing it in terms of sharing my message, sharing my knowledge, when a lot of people just kind of sit back and wait for people to find them, and you just can't do that. And so you're helping customers, you're helping your clients do that for their customers and being the information dominators in their industry. I think that's super, super valuable. And that's a big problem that you're solving, and it's allowing them to make more money, which of course is allowing you to charge higher prices and increase your income as well. So it's really a win-win-win situation if you look at it.
It is. And if the writing isn't done well, or it's not done in a client's particular voice, then it sounds like, they have a dozen different people who are just writing stuff to put out. And it can't be done like that. It has to provide the company and the brand with its own personality and its own voice. And that's what sets companies apart as being leaders in their fields and being, trusted resources. And that's what helps them build their businesses. So like the writers that I work with, they work with all sorts of companies. They've had their writings published in Forbes and the Wall Street Journal, and they write for companies like AT&T and Verizon and just all sorts of huge companies who pay them really, really good money to help them promote their brand properly in the way that they want to. And it's my job to help those writers make sure that everything is written in the way that each specific client wants it done. So it's very detailed, and it is a lot more than just going, oh, there's a typo here.
Exactly. And copy editing is different than proofreading. And I'm sure that you've come across people who think it's the same thing. How did you kind of navigate that?
I kind of do a combination usually of proofreading and editing, because most of the time I can't just proofread something without reading it and going, oh my gosh, this is horrible. No, you really, really have to change this. This is just very confusing. Well, first of all, I will explain to people who want a proofreader that, I'm going to do just more than correct their grammar and their punctuation errors. If I see something that I really feel strongly that needs to be reworded or is confusing, I'm going to let you know about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it if all you want is proofreading, but I'm going to point it out to you.
Yeah.
Because that's the perfectionist in me that can't just let something go out as long as there's no typos and the punctuation is correct. Anything that I touch, I want it to be as perfect as I can help it be. And one thing I'm actually going to start doing is setting up different levels of service, from proofreading to deep editing, and put it on my website that there are these different levels of service at different price points, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're right. I get someone who says, I just want this proofread. And I've actually had clients who did that. One was a novelist, another one was a nonfiction writer. And they're like, oh, I've had it edited. I just need it proofread. And I started working on the project and had to email them and go, I can't do this. I cannot just proofread it because there is so much wrong with it. And I have to fix it.
Yeah.
But I can't do it for the low price that I quoted you. And both of them became long-term repeat clients with more books and at higher price points. So part of it is saying, okay, I know that this is the level of service you want, but if I see that you seriously need something different, I'm not going to settle for just doing that small piece that you want, because I don't feel right about it. And if that means that, I've done part of the project and you want to hire someone else to just do that, I'm happy to step back, not charge you anything, just, go take it somewhere else, because I can't do that.
Yeah. Major props to you, not just being so desperate that you'll do anything to make money. I think that people kind of shoot themselves in the foot when they do that. They're like, they want the client so bad. They want the money so bad. Right. And they are thinking they had this scarcity mindset. Where's the next client going to come from if I tell this person that I can't do the work, or this actually needs more than what we bargained for? They're afraid to communicate that, but you were not. And I think that
Right.
major kudos to that. So I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and kind of talk about your daily process, specifically keeping yourself on track all day, getting things done in the turnaround time you promised the client, things like that. How do you keep yourself on track when you work during the day?
I'm one of those people who likes to have a calendar that I actually write things down on. So I have a day planner that I usually know ahead of time what type of work is coming on what days from which clients, because we communicate all the time. So I have an idea of what my work day is going to look like, or at least what we hope it's going to look like, because their schedules change all the time as well. But I'm not a morning person, so I typically don't get up till 10 or 11, depending on when I know my first pieces are going to be coming in for the day, because most of the stuff that I do is the writers finish it, they send it to me. They might send it to me at 3:00 and have to get it back to their client by 4, which means I have to jump on it, get it done, and send it back. So our communication is really, really important so that I know when they're going to start having pieces for me to work on. But I get up, the first thing that I do, which I know everybody says you're not supposed to do, but I check my emails on my phone to make sure that nothing drastic has come in.
I think that's smart. I mean, if you know that you're in a business that kind of hinges on being able to respond quickly, then you should totally be connected in that way. So yeah, I'm on board. Whatever you do, I think you know your business better than the gurus who say don't check your email before 8. But if you know that if something is important, then they'll text you, right? And so you can kind of work your business around that. And I don't want to rush you, Barbara, but I have to get one last question in that I ask everybody before we run out of time. And I think this is going to be pivotal for our audience because, I mean, you got injured, you were in the hospital, and then you had to move, and then your job said, hey, your job's basically gone if you don't do what we say, right? Your $12 an hour job. And so that can ignite a lot of fear, and you had a lot of fear for starting out. And so hopefully my hope is that people listening to this have been inspired by your story of just, making it happen and doing what it takes and taking those steps. But there's somebody out there, I know it, I'm looking at you, whoever you are, that is still scared to get started. And so my last question for every guest is, what advice would you give to that person who's sitting at home and they want to work at home, but they're scared to get started? What would you say to them?
I think the first thing that I would say is that, okay, you're going into the unknown and it's scary. It's scary for everybody. But number one, you are the only one who can change your situation. You are responsible for you. And if you really want to change your situation, if you really want to go into business for yourself or to work from home, if you don't do it, somewhere down the line, you're going to look back and go, well, what happened if I had done that? Where would I be? And you will never know unless you try. And one thing to remember when it's really hard and it's really discouraging is any small step that you take, any step that you take is a step forward. So even if, you're down and you're frustrated and you go, that's it, I give up, I just can't do this. Just figure out one little thing that you can do that day to make a step forward, no matter how small. Just make some step forward and you're progressing.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. I want to say thank you so much for sharing so openly and in such detail about your journey, because I know that it's inspiring to our audience. So thank you so much for being here today, Barbara. Where can people find you? We're going to tag you in the Facebook group. You guys can head over there right now and talk to Barbara herself in the Working Home Heroes Facebook group. But where can they find you online if they want to learn more from you?
I do have a website, which is I'm in the process of rebuilding, but it's Barbra, Barbra, Harper, copyeditor.com. They can also find me at LinkedIn or in the Facebook group. I'm around. I check my messages all the time because I am in a couple of the Facebook groups and I'm at my computer most of the day. So drop me a line, email me.
Yeah.
I'm around. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yay, we love it. So thank you again so much, Barbra. You guys head over to the Facebook group and talk to Barbra. Look her up online. She's your friend and very easy to get a hold of. So thanks a lot, Barbra.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Work at Home Heroes podcast with Caitlin Pyle. Be sure to listen to previous episodes at caitlinpyle.co/podcast. While you're there, read the show notes and check out all the great links and resources mentioned in this episode and more. You can also subscribe to the Work at Home Heroes podcast so you'll automatically be notified when our next episode is available. Remember, as Caitlin says, mo skills means mo money.